Welcome to the locker room and our first episode of the spring semester. I'm Ben Zitouni, and joining me today are Chris Watkins and Joey Huebsch. Guys, how was your break, and are you ready for another semester of shows and classes?
Break was a little too short, but it's still good to be back, so I guess that kind of alleviates the displeasure of starting a new semester.
What about you, Joey?
Break was short like usual. 4 weeks is not long enough for me, but I'm ready to go again.
I must be in the minority. I thought break was a little too long after about 2.5 weeks. I was ready to get back. There were so many sports things that were going on over break, and I was like, man, I wish we could talk about it this week. And then I was like, oh, we don't have shows. Tonight we'll have a recap of all the Pointers action that took place over winter break, recap the college basketball and NBA scene, and we'll get you ready for Super Bowl 51 this weekend. Starting off with Pointers men's basketball, news broke on January 5th that head coach Bob Semling would be suspended indefinitely for the rest of the season, and the team would receive a ban from WIAC tournament and NCAA tournament participation. Assistant head coach Kent Dernbach was named the interim head coach. Guys, what was your reaction when you heard the news that Semling would be suspended and that the team would receive a ban from the conference tournament and NCAA tournament? Joey, we'll start with you.
I was shocked. I was just watching Channel 7 News, and there popped up on the app, and I was shocked. I didn't know we had allegations like that for Division III, so it kind of caught me off guard, but the school had to suspend him when you get 4 allegations like that.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I wasn't even in Wisconsin when it happened. I was back home kind of just doing whatever. I think I was doing a wind term class. That's neither here nor there. But I saw your Facebook post, and I was just like, wow, random time for it to have happened. But so a little shock there just because of the suddenness with which it occurred. But besides that, not much more than just shock and complete surprise on my end.
I think I'll have to disagree with you guys. I wasn't really surprised. Back in the late spring, early summer, when there were rumors and a couple articles in the Stevens Point Journal about the NCAA investigation, I kind of had a thought in my head that this isn't over. Nobody knows the whole story. And honestly, I wasn't really surprised when Semling was suspended. One thing that did surprise me was the postseason ban, and the AD here on campus during his press conference, he said that this is the most severe punishment for rules violations in Division III history. So you know that the school took this pretty seriously, which is good. Obviously, you don't want teams breaking the rules. There's rules for a reason, and I don't know. I think that there might be more to come after this at the end of the season.
Yeah, very possibly.
Kent, once Dernbach took over, the team has gone 4-4 with their most recent win coming on Wednesday in a barn burner, 69-68 over UW Oshkosh. Zach Gadeke dropped 19 of his own points to lead the team in scoring, while Bryce Williams continued his great season, chipped in 10 of his own. Guys, with the team not being able to play in the postseason, what are they playing for this? What are they playing for this season?
Well, I actually spoke to Coach Dernbach about a week ago now, and I asked him pretty much the same question. He was saying the seniors basically pretty much playing to keep that, the word escapes me right now, keep the standard of UWSP basketball where it is, and for the seniors to go out and continue to set the table for the younger guys that will be coming in and replacing them in future seasons. So kind of just continuing to achieve, if not overachieve, and really just setting the standard and upholding the standard for what Pointer basketball should be.
What about you, Joey?
Well, they still want to have a good season despite the suspension, but they still want to make the team look good so then they can still get possible recruits to come back and fill in the shoes, like Chris said, of the seniors. So you still want to make the school look good despite the suspension.
Yeah, I agree with a little bit of what each of you said. Obviously, they have the postseason ban, but that's for this season. That's not for next season. Right. So they still have something to play for. The seniors obviously want to go out on top, leave the school in somewhat of a winning way, apart from the postseason ban. But like Joey said too, you still want to have more recruits come in, and like you said, Chris, kind of upholding the name and the standard of Stevens Point basketball.
Yeah.
The Pointers hit the hardwood again on Saturday when they play Eau Claire on the road. The women's basketball team has won 3 of their last 5 games, bringing the record to 13-7 overall and 5-4 in conference play. The Pointers lost at home to Oshkosh 66-55 on Wednesday. Taylor Barrett led the team with 16 points. With the Pointers in third place in the WEAC between Oshkosh and Whitewater, who both have 18-2 records, is it crunch time for the team if they want to make the postseason tournament? Obviously, they'll make the conference tournament, but is it a little too late for them to make a push for the NCAA tournament?
I don't think it's too late, but like you said, they do have to get on the roll. They're going to need a pretty strong conference tournament performance, as well as close out the regular season, in style as they should. 'Cause I think they're pretty much done with most of their tough games on the regular season slate, but they certainly have the firepower to do it between Anklam, Hennis, Douglas, and Barrett on the boards. And then you have a nice set of reserves also that can go about 8 deep for Coach Egner. So it's time to get some W's and get a string of them in order to make the tournament.
What about you, Joey?
I think so, because they got to try to make as good of a resume as possible for the committee to decide if they deserve to be in the tournament. So they have to start getting a good winning streak going, especially going into the conference tournament, and possibly finish runner-up or even third in the tournament. Should possibly get him in.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that, like Joey said, you have to put a nice little resume together, wrapping it up with some wins to impress the committee. After a quick commercial break, we'll be back with some Pointers hockey.
Oh, for a minute?
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back. The Pointers women's hockey team went 7-1-1 over games played during winter break. The Pointers' next games are at home this weekend against Eau Claire, with the record standing at 11-7-2 and their conference record at 3-3. What does the team have to do to build up some momentum and have some success in the postseason? Chris, we'll start with you.
Kind of like women's basketball. Guys start stringing some wins together. Now, they did have a nice back-to-back set of wins over the weekend, but that doesn't stop anything. The onus will continue to keep winning games, strengthen your resume, entering the tournament, and be playing your best hockey. So I think that's pretty much it for them at the moment.
What about you, Joey?
They just have to have solid defense from their goalies, Conley and Fowl. And just like Chris said, you just got to start getting the wins together, and you'll build momentum into the season.
Yeah, I think that they definitely have to string some wins across. I think that they'll make it to the conference championship game, where they'll probably play River Falls like it seems like they have for the past 4 or 5 years. And then hopefully they can have a different result as they have the past couple of seasons. There's only one autumn. There's only the WEAC usually only gets one bid
Right.
for the tournament, and that's usually that always is the conference winner. So hopefully they can string together some good wins, get their confidence up a little more, play solid defense, which includes goaltending, and who knows, maybe they can shock a few people, upset River Falls, and make the tournament.
Yeah, I think if they can average about 3 goals per game throughout however long their season goes, I think they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, I think so too. The men's hockey team went 5-2-1 over their games played over winter break. Their next 2 games are this weekend at home, tonight against Stout and tomorrow against Superior, with tomorrow's game being senior night. The record stands at 14-4-3. Their conference record is 3-1. Guys, what makes this team so dangerous, and what do they have to do to build up some steam before tournament time?
Speed kills, and to me that's always been the hallmark of the Pointers game, at least since I've been watching the team. So I think just getting out fast-paced, especially at home, you got the crowd behind you, You get out to this torrid pacing offense, scoring early goals like first period, second period, and then holding on in the third, if not building upon the leads that you build early. So I think that'll continue to be the case. I think they'll have to get off to good starts because while they have the capability of playing from behind, it's nothing like kind of front running in a sense, and then trying to have the other team match your tempo and catch up to you on your terms, which usually, in the case of the Pointers, doesn't always happen for their opponents.
What about you, Joey? What do you think they have to do?
Well, they're dangerous because they have a good goalie, Max Milsek, and they have the 11th ranked offense in the nation, led by their senior forwards Lawrence Kamel, Jacob Barber. So if they can just follow their lead, and they have good depth too, and just like Chris said, speed makes a difference. And they just got to create more offensive opportunities. And if they can average 3 to 4 goals a game, most games you should win if you score that much. So just keep doing that.
Yeah, I think that I agree with what both you guys said. They still have to. I think speed kills. You see how fast they are up and down the ice, clearing the puck out. And they have quite a few shorthanded goals this season, which is pretty impressive. You don't see that all too often. I think that Coach Brooks has a great program going here. He knows how to recruit very well, and he gets players that are committed to playing Pointer hockey, his style of hockey, which is playing fast, playing hard, getting in around the net, trying to chip pucks in. And then on the defensive end of the ice, they're not afraid to throw a few hits, which is always great to see. They stand up for each other, which is great. And personally, I don't know about you guys, but I think they will win the national title this year again, make it 2 in a row. What about you guys?
I think it's very possible. All that experience, guys like Kyle Sharkey, kind of heading the charge, and there's a lot of depth on that team. So I'm expecting them to be in the hunt, if not there, for a national title.
What about you, Joey?
Yeah, if they get on the roll like they did last season, they can get back and possibly get 2 straight.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys, kind of going back to what we just talked about last year, them going on the roll. And like we talked about with women's hockey, the only automatic bid is a conference tournament winner. And what did the Pointers do last year? They went on the road to River Falls, and I think it was maybe a 2 or 3 overtime game, won the conference tournament, and from then on, they were a Mack truck going down the highway at 80 miles an hour. Nobody could stop them, and that led them right to the national title. And I'm excited for some postseason hockey, and I'll definitely try to make it out to the last 2 home games of the season this weekend. After a quick commercial break, we'll be back with your college basketball and NBA recap.
How can you get involved with student media at UWSP? Connecting with your campus television station, SBTV, is easy. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Vine, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Pinterest, follow us on Instagram, or connect with us on Google+. But of course, the best way for you to get involved and stay up to date with all that is happening at our station is to stop by our studio. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at UWSP, Studio B, Room 121. You can also drop by our office, Room 130, for more information on station happenings. We can't wait to get you involved. Come join us at SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back, folks. The Wisconsin Badgers basketball team has won 6 in a row, and the record now stands at 19-3 and 8-1 in conference play. The Badgers' last game was on Tuesday, a 57-43 win over Illinois. The Badgers are currently ranked 10th in the country. Guys, are they a real deal team? Joey, we'll start with you.
I think so. Their defense is only allowing 59.8 points per game, so that's pretty good, 4th in the nation. And if their starting 5 can get in rhythm, especially Hayes and Koenig, they're pretty good.
What about you, Chris? Are the Badgers a real deal, dangerous tournament team?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe not so much in the tournament because you're going to need to score more to win in their style. While they have a borderline impregnable defense, their style doesn't lend itself to many points on either end of the floor. But as of right now, there's certainly a force to be reckoned with. You can't ignore them at all, being ranked 10th in the country. Like Joey said, Nigel Hayes, playing exceptional, and the rest of the supporting cast just doing what Wisconsin teams do, which is make it ugly, and that usually always goes in their favor. So yeah, they're doing their thing right now.
Yeah, this may be a little bit of my bias coming through, but I think they are a good team. I think Greg Gard, he took over late almost halfway through last season, and so this year's his first full season at the helm, and he's able to implement his own style of the game. He has great players coming off the bench. Hayes and Kinning are always scoring, and I probably am in the minority here, but I think Ethan Happ's a pretty solid contender for Player of the Year.
Could be, yeah.
Do you think do you guys think the Badgers will win the Big Ten?
Between them and the Terps, because Maryland's on a roll also, and I think that might, depending on how the seeding comes out, that could be a Big Ten title game.
I think they'll get to the semifinals, but I don't think they'll get to the championship game in the conference final.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch. I can't wait. I think it's going to come down to them and Purdue or Maryland.
Yeah.
The top 5 teams in the country are Gonzaga, Baylor, Kansas, Villanova, and Arizona. Guys, which of these teams has the best chance to make it to the Final Four?
I'm going to go Nova, just because even though they had the loss to Marquette, being up 15 at halftime and you still lose, just probably a blip on the radar. Besides that, probably the most consistent team in the country, and out of those 5, that would be a relatively easy choice with Kansas, pending suspension of players coming in second.
What about you, Joy?
I think Kansas or Villanova because they have the experience. The other 3 really don't have much experience getting into the Final Four area of the tournament, so I think their experience will play out and help them get there.
I'm going to have to go with Gonzaga here. They're obviously number 1 in the nation for a reason. Their record's now at 23-0. They've always been one of those teams where they started off as a Cinderella, and then they started making the NCAA tournament every year, and they've been able to make it to a couple Sweet 16s, a Final Four, 2, and an Elite 8, and I think this year they'll be able to do it.
I don't know. I
mean, their strength of schedule, they don't play a lot of really good teams. They don't have a great out-of-conference schedule, which obviously I'll admit that. Yeah. Everybody knows that, but I still think that they're a dangerous team.
Oh, yeah, very good team. And this could, eventually we could be talking about this as the best Gonzaga team. Mark Few's had multiple teams in this mold, and this could be the most talented one. We'll have to see, but don't forget about the ultimate wild card in this NCAA tournament. The hopefully soon-to-be fully healthy, including Coach K, Duke Blue Devils.
All right, Chris, you can talk to yourself about that later. What are your guys' dark horse teams in college basketball for the tournament?
I think UCLA and Purdue, because Purdue's 18-5, but they've only lost to like 2 big teams, in 14 Louisville and number 3 Villanova, so they're pretty good, and they're like in the top 5 of the Big Ten tournament. And UCLA was number 1 ranked in the nation for a while until they lost to Arizona, I believe. So their field goal percentage is 61.3, which is first in the nation. So if you have that kind of field goal percentage, you should win a lot of ball games.
I'm going to go right back to Duke just because, and here's why, not fandom aside, their defensive anchor, Mil Jefferson, seems like he's always injured at this point in the season, but rounding into form with Jefferson down low, Harry Giles, who we haven't seen much of, but should be hopefully healthy by the time conference tournament play starts, and integrated in the offense fully by the time the NCAA tournament starts. Your favorite, Grayson Allen, Luke Kennard's having a special season, and Coach K coming back on the sideline starting this Sunday against Pitt, not at Pitt. I think those things can make up for a Duke team that we've been anticipating all year being, like national championship contenders. I think they can round into form really soon.
Yeah, I agree with what both you guys said. I think 2 of my dark horse teams are Creighton, who beat the Badgers earlier in the season. The Badgers only have 2 losses on the road. That was the Purdue and Creighton. And my second dark horse team is Northwestern. They're finally kind of at the brink of relevance. For a while, they were the bottom feeder, doormat of the Big Ten Conference. They were kind of people made a joke out of them, and now they're ranked back 24th in the nation. I think they have at least 17, 18 wins and not even 5 losses. So if they can string together some good wins, maybe possibly upset some teams in the Big Ten, I think they'll be a real dark horse in the tournament.
Yeah, it could be.
Now on to the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks have lost 9 of their last 10 and have lost 4 in a row. Their record now stands at 21 and 27. Guys, what do the Bucks have to do to turn their season around if they want any chance of making the playoffs? Chris, we'll start with you.
They better hope somebody 1 through 8 goes on a major losing streak, because I don't see how you're going to make the playoffs with no shooters. Your best shooter, which could arguably speed. Mirza Teletovic can't even create his own shot. Matthew Dellavedova is Tony Snell, I just don't see, and I know Chris Middleton's coming back, hopefully for them around like the All-Star break, but a team devoid of shooters really doesn't go very far. I mean, you're not going to score all your points in the paint, especially now that you let Plumlee go for Roy Hibbert and Spencer Hawes, but that's a whole nother story. I'll leave it there.
Joey, what about you? What do they have to do to have any chance of making the playoffs?
They need to have more players that can make shots because Giannis can't just carry the team by himself. He needs some supporting cast to help him. And with Chris Middleton coming back, that should help a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be enough. And you're going to need 1 through 8 to lose quite a bit to catch up to them.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings as I was writing the script for this show, and I was looking at 1 through 8, and I was like, man, I really don't see the Bucks making any sort of jump above any of these teams. And the reason why these teams, the 1 through 8 teams, are so good is because they're scoring and they're winning. 2 things that you need to do in the NBA. Yeah. It seems like the only 2 playmakers the Bucks have are Jabari and Giannis, and they can only do so much.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of lack of accountability going on. I don't think Jason Kidd's holding his players accountable. You saw over break that Jabari got benched for the first quarter, first half for talking to the media about stuff that's going on inside the locker room. And one thing that I'm a little annoyed at is just because the Bucks are in a rebuilding mode, people are fine with them losing, being 5-10 games under 500. There's no reason why a rebuilding team still can't be competitive.
Agreed.
Now on to the NBA trade deadline. With that about a month away, there are a couple players who find their names in trade rumors. Guys, out of Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler, and DeMarcus Cousins, who do you think will get traded?
It'll probably be Melo. Out of those 3, and I'm not sure any of them will be moved this year because the Bulls would definitely need an all-star if you're going to trade Jimmy Butler. Same for DeMarcus Cousins, who probably won't be leaving Sacramento at least for the next year. I'd say more so free agency. Melo, that whole thing with him and Phil Jackson, which is just a terrible undermining of a very good player who had great abilities, especially in his earlier years in Carmelo. This is just a bad situation. It's toxic, and the Knicks and Carmelo both need to just get on with their respective careers and times and break ties as soon as possible.
What about you, Joey?
I don't think Carmelo will leave because the Cavs don't want to trade Kevin Love, who the Knicks are trying to get for Carmelo. So probably free agency, he'll go. Jimmy Butler, he won't leave the Bulls because that's one of their core players. So I think probably DeMarcus because they could get a lot of value players for him, especially for a contender that wants someone like him.
Yeah, you know what? I think out of those players, I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler. I think the Bulls aren't really going to do anything this season. I think they need to start going into rebuilding mode and start trading away some of their players. Dwayne Wade, Butler, and Rondo, I think those 3, you could get a pretty decent haul for them. And I don't know, there just seems to be a lot of locker room team problems going on. In Chicago, you saw Rondo's post on Instagram about how leaders and older players need to lead, and you saw Wade and Butler get suspended or get benched for the first half or a quarter or 2 that one game last week. So I really don't know what's going on with the Bulls. They need to figure it out themselves. And guys, Chris kind of alluded to this before. The Bucks made a trade yesterday, trading Miles Plumlee to the Charlotte Hornets for Roy Hibbert and Spencer Hawes. Joey, we'll start with you. What do you think of this trade?
I don't think it's that good of a trade because Roy Hibbert, once he came into the league, there's all the hype about him, but ever since then, he's kind of disappointed everybody. So it's just going to get another bench player, basically.
Chris, what about you? I can already tell that you think this trade's a little bit of a joke.
Ooh, this is such a Milwaukee Buck move. So you mean to tell me you're going to trade Miles Plumlee to the team that's ranked 8th in the Eastern Conference, in the Charlotte Hornets, the team that you're trying to unseat to get into the playoffs, the primary team, the closest team to you, for Roy Hibbert and Spencer Hawes? I mean, that's such a Bucks move, and no, it's not going to help them. That's another reason why they won't make the playoffs, and just par for the course, I think.
Well, they called GM John Hammond Trader Joe for a reason. I really don't like the trade. I don't understand it at all. Well, guys, after our last commercial break, we'll be back with your Super Bowl 51 preview and our first segment of What's Bothering You.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SBTV News crew. Being an on and off-air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
Welcome back, folks. Super Bowl 51 is this Sunday in Houston. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Green Bay Packers 44-21 to win the NFC. The Patriots beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 36-17 to win the NFC. All right, guys, how do you see this game playing out? Who's going to win?
New England Patriots, and here's why. I know they haven't faced a top 5 quarterback all season. They'll be playing the MVP this Sunday in Matt Ryan, but that Falcon defense, while they're fast, they're young, they kind of remind you like a Seattle light, a very light Seattle in their prime in the defense, but inexperienced. And you heard the Steelers defenders in the AFC Championship game talking about Brady's tempo, his pace, and how it was so fast. If those are experienced guys saying that, inexperienced players, minus Desmond Trufant, I don't know.
Joey, what about you?
My mind says Patriots, but my heart says Falcons, so I would go with the Falcons. I think Freeman and Coleman will play a big role in this because they're going to be going against the Patriots linebackers, so it might be a mismatch for the linebackers, but
That's true.
their linebackers are pretty fast. And obviously the Patriots defense is going to take Jones away from Matt Ryan. So the other three will have to have big games to win. And Brady will probably torch the Falcons secondary more than likely.
Yeah.
Well, Rodgers should have, but that didn't happen. So, and I think my X factor is going to be Dwight Freeney because he's played Brady multiple times. So if he can get pressure, we'll look out.
Chris, who's your player to look for in the Super Bowl?
LeGarrette Blount. Physicality, the Falcons have a lot of speed, but they're smaller players. LeGarrette Blount is going to bring that physical aspect, and then coupled with Deion Lewis, who will be on the outside, around the perimeter, catching screens and whatnot. Blount will be in the inside, getting the tough yards that the Falcons really, I don't think, will be able to stop for 4 quarters on Sunday.
Yeah, kind of going back to the first question I asked you guys, I think the Patriots will win. Tom Brady's Tom Brady for a reason.
Right.
This is his 7th Super Bowl in 15 years. He's obviously great for a reason. Players to look for in the game, I couldn't decide between 2 Patriots, so I'm going with Chris Hogan and James White.
Okay.
You saw what Chris Hogan did in the AFC Championship game against the Steelers, 2-3 touchdowns, and then he had that 1 touchdown off the long flea flicker.
Yeah.
And James White, he's a threat out of the backfield. I think he's a very, very underrated receiving back. You always see Brady hitting him on screens and crossing routes over the middle outside of the backfield, and we'll see if the Falcons can stop him. Last question for you guys about the Super Bowl. Who's gonna win Super Bowl MVP?
Joey?
I think Matt Ryan, just because he's the MVP of the league this year, and I think he'll probably have a big game.
Chris, what about you?
The greatest quarterback of all time, number 12, Tom Brady, Super Bowl MVP. But for reasons being, he'll have help, but I just think he'll throw for about, it's not going to take him long. He's going to get about 375, 400 yards against this defense because I think the running game is just going to get in motion early, and then flea flickers, like you mentioned, play action, a slew of receivers, and we're not even talking Gronk, but Martellus Bennett is right there, signing in his place. So when you lose the best tight end in the league, and then you have a very good one, probably in that top 5 or 6 to quote unquote back him up, it bodes well for that offense, and the defense I think will do their thing.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's going to win. Kind of going back to what you said, Bill Belichick always has a trick play, some type of offensive scheme up his sleeve that he usually unleashes in the Super Bowl. And I'm excited to watch this game. I think it's going to be a great game, and it's going to be pretty high scoring too.
I do. I agree also. That Falcon offense is nothing to sneeze at. And they have a viable chance to win with Coleman, Freeman, Jones, Mohamed Sanu, who I was calling Mohamed Sanan because I thought he was a non-factor earlier, but he proved me wrong. So props to him. And even Taylor Gabriel, they have some weapons that can make this game really fun to watch. just don't know if the defense will hold up.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch a game, and then we can come back and talk about it next Friday too, which is just as fun. All right, folks, it's back. Time for What's Bothering You. Chris, we'll start with you. What's bothering you this week?
You know, over winter break, heard a lot of things while Aaron Rodgers was running the table, as I predicted he would in a November edition of the Locker Room. However, one thing I heard that is completely untrue is that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Let me say one thing. First off, a number 12 it's just not him. The number 12 that is will be playing on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons, probably winning his 5th Super Bowl. Also, Peyton Manning, the guy who revolutionized offense for this era of football that we now know as the NFL, 2 Super Bowl rings, maybe the smartest quarterback ever. I'm not even so sure that he's past Brett Favre, who won 3 MVPs, as you guys would know, in 95, 96, 97, and John Elway, who, like Rodgers tried to do this year, took teams with average to above average talent on one side of the football, the defensive end to be specific, to multiple Super Bowls. He lost more than he won, but he still got 2. Aaron Rodgers, you're great, but let's not sensationalize people. Relax, like he would say.
All right, guys, you ready for this? Chris,
Yeah.
buckle in. All right, you know what's bothering me? Duke basketball. And most importantly, Grayson Allen. I see you laughing, Chris, all right? It's my turn to talk. Come on now. Grayson Allen, you're a joke. How old is he? 18, 19, 20 years old, and he's still tripping people like a little girl on the playground? Grow up. He's always complaining about stuff. He's always tripping people. He got suspended for that 1 game indefinite suspension before Christmas. He had his captaincy stripped away. You saw the game against St. Mary's where he tripped that player, and he had a tantrum like a little kid in the aisle at Toys R Us, screaming and crying. I swear my little brother and sister don't cry as much. And this week he tripped another player, and I'll tell you right now, if some team takes him in the NBA draft and he's fortunate, that's right, I said fortunate enough to make it into the NBA, and he tries and trips a big man like Harden or DeMarcus Cousins, that's not going to fly. You're going to see fists flying, and you know what? Hopefully Grayson Allen gets put in his place. Joey, what's bothering you?
Wow, that's hard to follow up on.
Ooh.
Well, mine is that NASCAR drivers don't get the respect that they deserve as being athletes, because many people just think that they just drive around in circles for 3 to 4 hours for nothing. They need to be physically fit to be in a race car for that long, especially in a 120-degree cockpit. And they need to have precision driving skills and reaction time because they're driving at 190 miles per hour. And if a squirrel would happen to come out, they got to be able to dodge it quickly. So, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, that's all we have for you today for our first show of the semester. I'd like to thank Chris and Joey for joining me today, and a big thank you to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Make sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television, or follow us at Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer athletic information. Till next time, we'll see you on the locker room.